When we're working with web forms, it's important to make sure that the fields that need to be filled in are filled in. Back in the old days, if you wanted to do this in the browser, the only way to do it was with JavaScript. Now we don't have to do it with JavaScript, but sometimes you still might want to. Let's take a look at both of these methods of doing this. And the only field that we're really going to require the user to fill in is the state pull-down menu. So we're going to force them to pick a state, a shipping state, prior to clicking the estimate total. So we're going to go ahead and program that part now. Now, if we wanted to accomplish this without JavaScript, because of HTML5, we actually could add a required attribute onto the particular field that we wanted to be required. And let me just show you how that works real quickly. I'm going to come into my select box. So here's my select box right here. And we're just going to go ahead and pass on the required attribute. And because of how HTML5 works, we don't have to assign a value to that. Just as soon as we have it called, it's going to require that that be part of what we're wanting to have happen on the page. So if I save my page now and we go back into the browser and refresh, when I click the estimate total, you can see that I get a little error message. Please select an item from the list. So it automatically is coming up. I didn't have to do anything with JavaScript, and that works just fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how you can do this with JavaScript, because I want you to be able to understand how the programming works, and in some cases you might need to do this for a particular project or modify it for something else. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that required attribute on the select box. We're just setting it back to what it was before. We're going to come down to our JavaScript and we have our submit handler already set up. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the line that puts the message in the console. So what we're going to do is we're going to retrieve the value of this field and see if there's anything in it. So I'm just going to put in my get element by ID, and I'm going to substitute in the S state. And then what we need to do here is we need to check its value. So if we look in the browser and check the code for this, you can see that each of the option fields is assigned a value, and that's the state abbreviation. So what we want to do is we want to return the state codes. And if it says select, then you can see that there is no value on the first option. The value is non-defined. So if it's blank, we want to make sure that an alert pops up and lets the user know that they have to pick a state. So in order to do this, we are going to add a condition. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and pass on that we want to get the value. We want to check the value of the S state element. And we want to check and make sure that the value is not blank. So let's add the condition so that we can code this in. We'll change this into a conditional statement by adding if. And what the condition is going to do, it's going to check and then it's going to do something based on whether or not the condition is true. So we're going to say if this value is blank, that is an empty string, then we're going to display the alert message. So we'll say if document.getElementById sState.value, and then we're going to pass on 3 equal signs and give it a empty quotes. The 3 equal sign in JavaScript will make sure that we're checking exactly for this. Not something that's kind of like it, but that is exactly this. If it's empty, it's going to be an empty string. So we'll use the 3 equal signs to do this. And then if this is blank, we need to do something. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to run an alert. And this is going to go inside of its own new set of curly braces. And we'll specify an alert and we'll just pass on a message. So this is a global function that's just going to post a little alert. So if we save our page and refresh in the browser, here's our page, and if we go ahead and click the estimate total, you can see that right away I get my alert. Hey, please choose your shipping state. So that part's working the way that we want. Now, because of what we talked about before, if the user enters a number in one of the other fields and hits return and they haven't specified their shipping state, we still want the alert to come up. So what we have here is that anytime the user even hits return, if this hasn't been chosen, we'll get the alert. Now if I switch and select a state and hit the estimate total or hit return, you can see I no longer get the alert dialog box. So this JavaScript file is saying when you click estimate total, if you have not selected a shipping state that has a value assigned to it, if it has a null or empty value, then we're going to display the error message or the warning. If not, then it's just going to store that information. So just to make our code a little bit more robust, we're going to add the focus method, which is used to give focus to an element. So within our conditional statement, our if statement, we're just going to get the sState element and just pass on the focus method. So the focus method just will give that form element the focus. So in other words, if it's a text box or something like that, it'll be as if the user clicked in it. Visually, we're not going to see any sort of difference on our page once we've added that. The form is going to work in the same way. It's just helping our form to be more well structured and more well formed. So this is just an overview of how to make sure that a field is filled out using HTML5 or using JavaScript. So either of these methods are ways that you can ensure that the user is getting the alerts that they need so that your form is working in the correct way.